us in writing and attach the copy of the death certificate so that our registers can be up to date. Now, when you go to chapter 3, it deals with the disciplinary powers of counsel. So when we institute a disciplinary inquiry against a social service professionals, we will be invoking that power in terms of section 21. It makes provision for counsel to institute disciplinary inquiries or an investigation into allegations of unprofessional or improper conduct against a registered person, if I were to put it that way. Now, you go to section 22, it makes provision for the 4 possible penalties that counsel may impose against a social service professional who has been found guilty in a disciplinary hearing. And the first possible penalty is a reprimand, suspension, a cancellation of one's registration, or a fine. So these are the 4 possible penalties that if you were to appear in a disciplinary inquiry and you are found guilty of unprofessional or improper conduct, these are one of the counsel may impose one of these 4 possible penalties against that person or a respondent will be appearing in a disciplinary inquiry. Then you go to section 23. Section 23 makes provision for any court of law in the event they come across any allegations of unprofessional or improper conduct against a social service professional to refer those matters to counsel. Now you go to chapter 4, which deals with the general provisions. Go to section 24. It talks about the provision for counsel to appoint what we call a legal assessor to assist counsel in terms of disciplinary inquiries. Section 25 deals with the appeal provision. So it provides the right for a registrant or a prospective registrant to appeal any decisions of counsel. And there are 3 areas in which a registrant or a prospective registrant may appeal a decision of counsel. One is when counsel refuses to register you for whatever reasons. Counsel must provide the reasons, and if you remain aggrieved, you have the right to challenge that decision. And reason number 2, you may take an appeal. It's when you remain aggrieved as far as the outcome of a disciplinary inquiry is concerned, to say, counsel, I'm aggrieved by the decision that you took, or the sanction that you've imposed against me is too harsh, or I am not guilty as far as the allegations are concerned. You have the right to an appeal. Then the 3rd category is when counsel refuses to restore your name as a registrant into the register. So we might have removed your name from the register in terms of section 20, as I spoke to, or in terms of section 22. If you remain aggrieved and you feel that you need to be restored, and counsel says, no, we feel that you are not rehabilitated to be restored, or the reasons why your name was removed from the register still exist, therefore you cannot be restored because you are not a fit and proper person to can register and practice as such. You have the right to challenge that particular decision, because we are performing administrative action, colleagues, in terms of purge. So every decision that counsel makes in terms of refusing to register you, to restore you, or to take disciplinary action against you, we must provide reasons as to how did we arrive at that particular decision. And if you remain aggrieved, you have the right to appeal in terms of section 25. Now, section 26 puts the liability limitation in the event that if counsel takes decision in good faith. For example, we refuse to enter your name into the register, and we made that decision in good faith, but our decision was wrong. We are protected in that regard, so you cannot sue us. But in the event counsel makes a decision in bad faith to frustrate a particular person, and not that person has the right to can sue us and possibly succeed in terms of that particular lawsuit. So but basically section 26 says counsel, you are protected in terms of the decision that you make against social service professional, provided your decision that you make are made in good faith. Now you go to section 27. which we'll talk to it later, and also to section 28, section 27 makes us for council to make rules, and section 28 makes provision for the Minister of Social Development to make rules in after a recommendation of council. So this is briefly, colleagues, the provision of your Social Service Professions Act, which is important that all of us will become aware of. I always tell when we do the Code of Ethics presentation, tell our colleagues, because that there are two main legislations that all social service professionals should be familiar with. Firstly is the Children's Act, and the second one is the Social Service Professions Act, because the Children's Act applies to all social service professionals in terms of the work that we do in the main when we are rendering core social services. Then the Social Service Professions Act is the act that we use to regulate professionals and the profession. So you need to understand these two legislations for you to be able to navigate and survive in this particular sector. Now, talking to the structure of the SACSSP, we're having council at the top, we're having the two professional boards which I spoke to. Currently, we are in the process of establishing the third professional board for community development practitioners. The processes are at the advanced stage. We don't know when it will happen, but we are at a point where at any point determined soon, we will have to establish this third professional board. We are having Section 9, which is the Executive Committee of Council. We also have Section 10 committees, and these are the committees where most or all council and members of the professional boards are serving. So they are running the day-to-day operation, or they are assisting us to run the day-to-day operations of council. And some of these committees, they are what we call oversight structures of council. And on the extreme right, we are having the registrar and administration, and we are called secretariat. So we are the ones who are running the day-to-day operations, and the structures which include the Section 9, Section 10, professional boards and council, they oversee the work, but the Act also and the regulations makes provision for them to do certain work in advancing the operations of council. Now, these are some of the Section 10 committees. These are just governance committees. We have finance, common cause, risk and audit, human resource, registrations, transformation committee, ETD, IT and business engineering, and communication and public relations. So these are some of the committees that council will establish now and then in order to give effect to the mandate of the council as provided for in Section 3 of the Act. Now, I spoke about the mandate of council. Here you'll find it in Section 3, and amongst others, it's our responsibility to maintain and enhance the prestige, status, integrity, and dignity of the professions. We are responsible to ensure that we advise the minister in relation to matters affecting the professions. We determine on the recommendation of the professional boards the qualification for registrations of persons practicing the professions. We also regulate the practicing of the profession, the registration, and the persons who are practicing thereof. Then we determine the standard of professional conduct. That is why we are having what we call the Code of Ethics for social workers and the Code of Ethics for child and youth care workers. We are also responsible for control and exercising authority with regard to all financial matters relating to the council and the professional boards. And that is why we are here today, because today we are going to talk to financial matters within the context of the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals. Now, when you want to read more on the powers and functions of council, please refer to Section 4. And also Section 5, subsection 5 makes provision for the term of office of council members. The current council, which is the 5th council, started its mandate on the 19th of August 2023. So they will run for a period of 5 years, and the 5th outer year, colleagues, will be running another round of nomination and election for new council members, and also the members of the professional boards for social work and the professional board for child and youth care work. So the plea that we want to make, colleagues, is in line with the plea that I made earlier on for colleagues to please update their contact details so that You are aware, or you can follow progress in terms of when are we starting with the nomination, so that you participate in that task. It's your right to do so, and also in the election processes, because the previous times, colleagues, numbers shows that social service professionals do not participate in the nominations and elections of council members. Now, the principal, colleagues, is that council is run by social service professionals, no one else, colleagues. And it's run by the people that you have elected to serve at the level of council and at the level of the professional boards. They will appoint the registrar, and the registrar appoints staff together with council to run the operations of council. So the people that you elect or you do not elect are the ones supposed to serve at this level. So colleagues go around complaining about council. The council is not doing 1, 2, 3. Or council is not serving its mandate. But the process is that there's a point where this thing starts, colleagues. It starts by us electing people who have the necessary knowledge and skills to be able to assist us in transforming the SACSSP. So I'm saying this thing, colleagues, so that we want to encourage you to participate in the nomination and the election of council members. Though the other part of council members and board members, they are appointed by the Minister of Social Development, and together the election part and then the appointees, they serve what you call the council profession and the professional board. However, we want to urge you, colleagues, please participate in the nomination and the elections of members who will serve at council and the 2 professional boards, so that you also hold them accountable, because you participated. The minute you elect a person, this person must also account to you in a different way, though they will not come to you directly in terms of giving you feedback. But the essence of the matter is that a statutory body like the SACSSP, colleagues, is run by the people who have been elected by social service professionals to protect your own profession, to protect social service professionals. That is the essence why the Act makes provision for the election or the nomination and the elections of council and members of the professional boards. Now, when you go to section 14, I've indicated earlier on to say professional boards are established in terms of section 14, and you can see there what you call the object of council, the object of the professional boards, and one of those is to determine the minimum standards of education and training of the profession within its ambit, maintain and enhance the dignity and integrity of the professions, and also guide the professions falling within its ambit to protect the public. So part of the mandate of the professional boards is to protect the public, and the public, we are talking about the beneficiaries of social services, and who are your clients, what you call your clients. So council and the boards, they have an obligation, because council gives you a registration certificate and deploys you as an ambassador to go and represent our profession and practice as such. Now we have a responsibility that any person whom we send to serve the members of the public adheres to the code of ethics, and in the event that person does not do so or act in what we call unprofessional or improper manner, we have the responsibility to hold that particular social service professional accountable in terms of section 21, as I spoke to earlier on. Now, to read more on the general powers of the professional boards, please refer to section 14, capital letter C of the Social Service Professions Act. Why professional registrations? When we travel across the country, colleagues always raise this particular question, and I always tell them to say, after this particular slide, please don't raise this question again, because it becomes embarrassing, I must be honest, at some point, to hear a social service professional asking, why must I register with the SACSSP? I mean, it should be common cause, colleagues. As a social service professionals, we need to know from second year that we need to register, and we need to understand that there is a statutory body that is regulating this profession. So you know in advance from second year. third year and fourth year that by the time I complete my studies, I must register with a particular statutory body which is responsible for regulating this profession. So it can be fair, colleagues, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, when you are practicing, then colleagues are asking, why must we register with the SACSSP? And the SACSSP is not serving its mandate. The confusion that we are making, colleagues, is that if you read the Social Service Professions Act, you will understand the mandate of the SACSSP. And the mandate of the SACSSP, it is not primarily, colleagues, this is a point that we need to clarify. The primary mandate of the SACSSP, it is not to fight for the conditions of service of social service professionals in their respective workplaces. Our mandate is to regulate the profession and the professions. The mandate of the trade unions in the respective workplaces in terms of the Labor Relations Act is to advance the interest of their members who are employees. Remember, there's a difference between a professional and employee. A professional, you are having a relationship with your statutory board in terms which is regulated in terms of this act, the rules and the regulations. You are having the employee-employer relationship, which is a tripartite relationship when you include the trade union in a respective workplace. So that relationship is meant to advance the interest of employees, to protect their interests and ensure that their conditions of service in their respective workplaces are improved in terms of the Labor Relations Act. That is the distinction, colleagues, that we always need to bear in mind. Then you have another relationship between what we call associations, professional associations. Colleagues, I don't know whether NASWA is still existing. I haven't heard from them in a long time. But we have several professional associations, colleagues. Their mandate, again, is to advance at least two interests. Professional interest, and possibly there's a room for also for to do it there somewhere, somehow, with the conditions of services and work together with the trade unions to try to advance that. So the good thing about professional associations is that they can tap into us, engage us as counsel in terms of advancing your interests as far as the profession and the professionals are concerned. They can also tap into your relationship with your employer and try to advance your interest working together with the trade union. So this is how, colleagues, we need to understand this relationship and the different roles of different stakeholders. The SACSSP's mandate is different. Labor trade unions mandate is different, and associations mandate is different, colleagues. However, even though we do not have the primary mandate to advance social service professionals' conditions of service as far as their employer-employee relationship is concerned, we do play the advocacy role on this. Currently, we are experiencing a huge number of unemployed social workers. The Professional Board for Social Work is dealing with that matter. We are also experiencing the issue of the conditions of service, the appalling conditions of service for child and care workers. Not to say social workers are covered, but comparatively speaking, between you and social workers and child and care workers, social workers are in a better position as compared to CYCs, especially those who are working in the NPO set. So the Professional Board for Child and care workers is attending to that particular. So we don't see it quietly to say the act is silent in terms of these issues. However, we don't have the mandate to take a lead in terms of taking legal action against employers, taking legal action against the Minister of Social Development and so forth. There are people who are supposed to be responsible for those issues. So that's the emphasis that I wanted to make, colleagues, to clarify the different roles of the different stakeholders so that we do not miss this point and try to put a responsibility or expectations on the SACSSP to do something that at the end of the day, there's no legal provision for us to do that, and we end up making mistakes, colleagues. So now other reasons why we must register with the SACSSP is because it is a legal requirement. It's a legal license for one to practice, as I've indicated earlier on. Section 15 prohibits any person who is not registered with the SACSSP or under the SSP Act to practice the profession in respect of which professional boards are are established. And you are aware that there are various laws which empower or recognizes SSPs to execute certain statutory tasks. I always use an example of which is a classical one when we say we've identified a child to be in need of care and protection. Only a social worker can make that determination, and only a social worker can remove a child in need of care and protection. Child and care workers, social workers, they cannot do that, but they also have their space to play within the context of the provision of statutory services. So you are on only when you are recognized as a social worker in terms of the Act, you are able to perform certain statutory functions as provided for in the Children's Act, the Correctional Service Act, and other relevant act which recognizes or identifies who is a social worker. By registering, it's a proof that we meet the minimum requirements and that we are competent to practice as professionals. And there's a need for us, as I've indicated earlier on, in terms of the mandate of the object of the professional boards, that we must protect the public against unethical conduct, and we can only do so against a person who is not registered. If you are not registered, we can't hold you accountable. In terms of Section 21, we can only invoke the provision of Section 15 and Section 16 to open a criminal case against the person who is practicing illegal without registering with us. You can use your registration with us or your registration status to market yourself and use it for international recognition in terms of those who aspire to go and work overseas or outside South Africa or the Republic of South Africa. Putting the mechanism for registration, it gives professional credibility and credence to our profession, because we issue the registration certificate annually. We must issue with the practice an area that on. It gives credence. People, they know that when we are going to seek social services, we are going to deal with a person who is registered as being fit and proper to serve the people. So people have confidence in terms of the safety that people, we undermine the profession. We allow people who are not registered to enter into trouble. Our understanding is that when you are a professional recognized and respected in a multidisciplinary team, so the minute you enter the session and then you introduce yourself as people who respect you. And I always tell colleagues that people start to lose respect in terms of how you conduct yourselves in the meeting. We arrive late in the meetings. We don't have something to a notebook, the right to write notes. We sit in the meetings, we are busy with other things, cell phone and so forth. People will start to lose the respect that comes naturally with what we regard or we recognize as a social work. So it's a plea that colleagues, as and when we are participating in all the tasks that we do, we always conduct ourselves in a proper manner so that we protect the image of our profession and our image and the reputation ourselves as individual social service professionals. And this also extends to child and youth care workers, then also social auxiliary workers, and also students. Now, I spoke earlier on about Section 28, which gives us the power, or gives the minister the power to make regulations as per the recommendation of the council. So this section identifies the different areas in which the minister may make regulations as per the recommendation of the council. And one area, colleagues, is in relation to fees which shall be paid annually by social service professionals. That is why we are having the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals. We also have the other area which will be regulated as far as fees are payable. It talks to the registration and the re-registration. That is why you have to pay a registration fee. When you re-register, you must pay a fee as well. And also for additional qualification, specialties and private practice, there are certain fees that needs to be paid. So currently, we do not have the regulations as far as private practice is concerned. The council is in the process. They've mandated the ETD Committee of Council to lead that process so that we introduce the regulations as far as the provisions or the practicing of social service professionals in private practice. So there will be regulations called regulations for social service professionals in private practice, which will be introduced in due course. So the other area which is regulated is the restoration of qualifications, partiality practice, and the name of such a person. If you go, I spoke to earlier on to section 20. If you go to section 20, subsection 3, it talks about the requirements for restoration that the person must meet. One of those reasons is that the reasons which led to your name to be removed from the register no longer exist, and you've paid the prescribed fee, annual fee, and the prescribed restoration fee. It is against that reason that your name will probably be restored on the register. Another area to be which is regulated is any application which shall or may be made under this act when a person is applying. Is regulated. The issuing of registration certificate or copies thereof is regulated. Colleagues, if you go to section 17 and 18, you will find these provisions, and they find expressions in the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals, the provision of extract from any register. So, for example, when you are looking for a status report, colleagues, this area is also regulated. Again, it's also provided for in sections 17 and 18. So last week we were doing the code of ethics in Limpopo, the virtual code of ethics for social work. One colleague asked us or reposed a question as to why do we charge a fee for issuing a status report. So is the law, colleagues, the law makes provision that we must charge a fee for issuing a one with a status report or any report in relation to either the registration certificate or any request that a person is made or wants to view our registers. The act and the regulations says we must regulate that part and also charge a fee as far as those services are concerned. And if you go to paragraph B there, it talks to the regulations of the allowances which may be paid to members of council. So earlier on I spoke about council members and board members. So these people are eligible to be paid an allowance for attending meetings of council, for preparing in terms of the preparations for meetings and so forth. So there are regulations in place regulating the allowances which are paid to members of council and members of the professional board. The regulation, other areas of to be regulated, it talks to the minimum requirements for education and training, the nature, content, and the duration of the curricula and practicing and practical training. So if you go to the regulations regarding the registrations of social workers and also to child and care workers, they prescribe the minimum requirements as far as education is concerned. To say if you are a social worker, you must be in possession of a 4-year social work degree, for example, and you must do practicals before you can start from second year, you must start doing practicals and so forth, and subject that to the fact that you are registered with us as a student social worker, for example. We are having the regulations in terms of the institution of an inquiry in terms of chapter 3. Remember, I spoke to it when you go to section 21 there. That is why we are having what we call the regulations regarding the conducting of inquiries into alleged unprofessional conduct, which are the regulations which we use to conduct investigations against social service professionals. And it says, in the event that a person, there's prima facie evidence of unprofessional conduct and you want to summon a person to appear before a disciplinary inquiry, the notice and the summons are prescribed, colleagues. And if it goes further, talks to registration and conduct of private practice. This is an area where I've indicated that we are in the process of developing the regulations. The same applies to the professional practice of a social worker conducting private practice. We are gravitating towards space so that we regulate private practice, so that we protect social workers or social service professionals in private practice, but also protect clients who are accessing the services of social service professionals who are in private practice, and hold those who are doing wrong things accountable. So because they bring the name of our profession and the professionals who are doing right things into disrepute. So currently, colleagues, we experience a challenge, or we're experiencing a challenge of some social workers who are doing wrong things in private practice as far in the area of adoption services. So it's not all social workers, colleagues, it's few of them. Some of them, we've identified them, we've investigated them, and we've removed their name from the register because of the things that they are doing, overcharging clients or also charging clients monies which they were not supposed to. So, and also pushing for adoption processes which in under normal circumstances a social worker will not venture into that particular area. So there are other areas, colleagues, which we find to be problematic as far as some, and I want to qualify, use this word, colleagues, let's underline this word. Some social workers, it's not only in private practice, but some social workers amongst us as social service professionals, we find ourselves doing the opposite of what we are expected to do as far as the general accepted standard of practice the profession is concerned. So we are pleading with everyone, colleagues, please let's protect our professions, colleagues, and call out those social service professionals who are doing wrong things out there. Now, the other areas of regulation, colleagues, is in relation to the documents which shall accompany any application. That is why when you apply for registration, we'll expect to or require you to attach the ID copy, the academic records, and so forth, because those areas are regulated. It's not because we want to frustrate you, colleagues. Now, also the other area which is regulated is the requirements to be complied with by an applicant for the registration for specialty. I want to believe, colleagues, we are aware that so far we have around 5 areas of specialty, which is occupational social work, probation services, adoption services, clinical social work, and forensic. So those who are interested, colleagues, that to venture into this particular area, you are advised, please, colleagues, to apply, because there was a point where there was confusion as to whether we have regulations in place as far as specialty in forensic social work is concerned, and also for clinical social work. So those regulations are in place, colleagues. Please visit our website if you are interested to work in the area of occupational social work, adoption, probation, clinical, and forensic. If you are interested, please visit our website so that you can access the regulations and also see what are the minimum requirements. If you do meet the requirements, please apply so that you can also expand in terms of the provision of social service, because this is what we need to do, colleagues. The more social service professionals we have, and in different areas, the better for the country and for the better for our people, so that they are able to access our social services. The main reason why we are expanding is to ensure that our people are able to access social services. So the other areas, lastly, then, is the conditions subject to which any person registered in terms of this act may practice his profession. So, for example, if you go to the regulations for registrations of child and youth care workers, make provision for certain conditions for child and youth care workers around 2014, 2015, to say when you want to register with us and you are not in possession of a degree or a diploma in child and youth care work, you can register at auxiliary level through your job description and your employment letter for a period of 4 years, and that you must go and obtain an NQF level 4 or NQF level 5 qualification in child and youth care work. Now, this is one of the conditions which were put there. Now, that conditions, colleagues who are child and youth care workers in this forum, or whoever that we are going to share this message with, is that all child and youth care workers who registered with the employment letters and job description at a particular point in time. Please note that that provision has fallen off by operation of law. It is no longer there. If you want to register as a child and youth care worker, you must be in possession of at least NQF level 4 or level 5 qualification for you to be able to register at auxiliary level and at professional level. The regulations also clarifies that you need to be in possession at least, amongst others, in possession of a national diploma or a degree, and also there are other provisions there. If you go through the regulations, you'll see. Now the question is, Hitler, then if that provision or conditions for people to register with employment letters and job description has fallen off, what's happening to, or what is going to happen to people who have not obtained their qualifications since they registered? So it's what we call the Sunset Provision. Colleagues Council and the Professional Board for Child and Youth Care Work took a resolution that people who are not in possession of the relevant qualification to register as child and youth care workers, their names must be removed from the register. So we started with this process. We held in August a webinar on child and youth care workers regulations. We've clarified this issue to to child and youth care workers and to also to their employer. So if you are aware of any colleague who is not in possession of the relevant qualification as far as child and youth care is concerned, please inform them to contact us, because another thing is that some colleagues registered at a particular point in time, their contact details have changed, and now we are unable to reach them. So please inform anyone you might know not to be in possession of the relevant qualification, to say, please contact council so that we can assist you and see, because we issued notice letters to people to say, provide the reasons as to why your name should not be removed from the register. Others, they've responded, and others have not responded. If they miss the period within which they're supposed to respond, then the last option that we have is to remove their names from the register. And if a person is found, is being deregistered and is found to be practicing after his or her name has been removed from the register, that person will be contravening Section 15 of the Social Service Professions Act, and as council or employers or any member of the public who's accessing his or her services may open a criminal case against that particular person. So we're making a plea to all child and youth care workers who are affected or got registered with employment letters and job descriptions. Please know that you are affected. Come forward and engage the council so that we can see how we can assist you. I spoke earlier on about Section 27, which gives us the power to make the rules, and amongst others, colleagues who are having the rules relating to the course of conduct for social workers, which is what we call the Code of Ethics. We also have the course of conduct for child and youth care workers, which is the Code of Ethics for Child and Youth. So we're having two separate Code of Ethics colleagues for the profession of social work, which includes social auxiliary workers, and also the Code of Ethics for Child and Youth Care workers. So the plea that we want to make here, colleagues, is that we've noticed that most social service professionals, in particular child and youth care workers, they are not aware that the profession of child and youth care workers is regulated, and to what extent it's regulated. So there is a code of ethics that each and every social service professionals must adhere to. So we are appealing to employers of social service professionals, please coordinate workshops so that we can come either face to face or virtual. We come down to your respective workplaces and conduct workshops on these two code of ethics. And this is what, colleagues, this message worked. In September, when we're circulating, spreading this message, so far we've conducted 3, I think it's 3 or not 4, if I'm not wrong, Code of Ethics workshops. We did one, I indicated earlier on, we did one with the Limpopo Department of Social Development. They convened all the social service professionals in Limpopo. Others managed to attend. Unfortunately, others could not attend. But at least we know for now that at least Limpopo, it's aware in terms of the issues. At some point, Northwest invited us. We were there in July. Gauteng always invite us. One thing we don't want to appreciate about Gauteng, they don't make a mistake. Every year, Gauteng invite us. As then when they appoint new social service professionals, they invite us. We were there last week conducting a code of ethics workshop in Soweto. So it's for the first time ever in the history of cancer that you find the SACSSP in Soweto engaging the social service professionals who are working in that particular space there. So we're encouraging all employers of social service professionals, please coordinate workshops so that can come down and conduct the workshop so that it assists us to ensure that we render our social service professionals render quality service to our people, and it will also assist to prevent or to reduce the number of complaints of unprofessional or improper conduct against our social service professionals. So average colleagues per month were receiving at least a minimum of 10 complaints. So it's a lot if you compare in terms of the number of social service professionals we have. So to prevent such colleagues, we need to be proactive, ensure that we conduct workshops and empower our social service professionals. The other areas where Section 27 empowers us to make regulations is in relation to the rules, rules, not regulations, in relation to rules relating to acts or omissions of social service professionals, which shall constitute unprofessional or improper conduct. Now, these rules, colleagues, these are the rules we use to prefer charges against social service professionals who are conducting themselves in an unprofessional or improper manner. If you were to apply these rules in terms of your employer-employee relationship, you will call these rules a disciplinary code, because the code of ethics provides the standard of professional conduct. Now, the minute your standard or your conduct falls below the code of ethics, it means somehow you are conducting yourself in an unprofessional or improper manner. For example, if a social worker renders or performs his or her professional duties in a negligent manner, you will be contravening these rules. Or engage in dishonesty, you do not keep your process notes, you divulge clients' confidential information, you disrespect your colleagues and your clients, you solicit money from clients and so forth. Any matter which is unprofessional conduct in unprofessional colleague, it will be dealt with in terms of the rules relating to the acts or omission, and counsel will prepare charges against that professional. And what is interesting in this rules relating to act or omission is that it regards the employment of a person who is not registered with counsel to constitute unprofessional or improper conduct, meaning that supervisors of social service professionals and social work managers and employers of social service professionals, in the example where in the NPO sector, for example, the director of that NPO is a social service professional, counsel may hold that person accountable for employing people who are not registered with the SACSSP. The same applies in a government department. If the HOD of the Limpopo Department of Social Development, I'm just making an example, is a registered person and we found that they've employed an unregistered person, we will hold that HOD accountable. Our social work managers in that division, in that district or region accountable, and the supervisors in those satellite offices accountable to say, why do we employ and allocate work to a person to render social services while this person is not registered? So this is what, amongst other things, the rules relating to act or commissions is saying, that it's unprofessional or it constitutes unprofessional or improper conduct to employ a person who is not registered in terms of the act. Now, colleagues, that is the context and the background as far as the SACSSP is concerned, and we want to believe now today you understand, you have an idea or a better understanding as to the extent to which the profession of social work, the profession of child and youth care work, and the profession of child and youth care work are regulated, and to the extent to which professionals are regulated. It's because the Act says so, colleagues. Why must you register? It's because the Act says so. Why are we holding you accountable? Is because the Act says so. So everything, when a person asks you, say to the person, please read the Social Service Professions Act, because everything is there in the Social Service Professions Act and is supported by what we call the subordinate law, which is the rules and the regulations which are made in terms of Section 27 and 28 of the Social Service Professions Act. So that is the context and the background we wanted to share with you, and want to believe that you've learned something today. Now allow us to go to part 2 of the presentation. My apologies, Program Director. Now, part 2 of our presentation talks to the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals. Now, the Minister has published the new regulations, colleagues, on the 2nd of June 2023, talking to the fees which are applicable to or are payable by social service professionals. And they were published, colleagues, so which means we are having the new regulations. So we want to take you through the summary of these regulations and the silent issues as far as these regulations are concerned. When you go to Regulation 1, or let's deal with the interpretation, therefore, of the statute, colleagues. When you read the Act, we talk to section and subsection, paragraph and subparagraphs. So you might have heard me talking about the section and the subsections when we're dealing with the Social Service Professions Act. Now, when you come to the regulations, we're talking about Regulation 1, Regulation 2, Regulation 3, within the same regulations. So when I'm saying Regulation 1, Regulation 2, I'm not talking to different regulations. It's how you interpret the regulations. The same applies when you interpret the rules which I spoke to, which are made in terms of Section 27. We're talking about Rule 1, Rule 2, Rule 3. If you see the number in bracket, it will be Rule 2. If you see a letter, is a paragraph. If you see Roman figures, is what we call sub-paragraphs. So let's get it right, colleagues, so that again, we are social service professionals. Clause. Again, the clause, we use the word clause when not talking to a police. But when we talk about rules, we're talking, interpreting rules, we're talking about Rule 1, Rule 2. When we are reading regulations, we're talking about Regulation 1, 2, and 3, and so forth. When we are talking about the Social Service Professions Act, we're talking about section and subsections. Now, Rule 1, it defines a financial year to mean a year ending 31st of every year, colleagues. So 31st of March each year, colleagues, is not the due date for the payment of the annual fee, is the last date of the financial year as far as council is concerned. And I think it's also applicable in many organizations, including even in the public sector. Now, reference number, police, is talk to your registration number, which you need to use as and when you are making payments to council, so that we can identify that particular payment and allocate it accordingly against your name, so that we are able to issue you with whatever that you have paid for on time. And in the main, it will be the practice card, colleagues. The reason, or part of the reasons why we are struggling to issue practice cards on time to some of our social service professionals, it is because they do not use the correct reference number, and others, they don't use the correct the reference number at all. So if you make payment to council and you don't use your registration number as a reference number, unfortunately, we won't be able to allocate that money accordingly. You will not receive your practice card, because we don't know who paid those monies until such time that you submit a proof of payment, which is another additional administrative nightmare, colleagues, for us. So our appeal is that please use the correct reference number when you are making payment, which is the registration number, so that our finance division and registrations division, they can be able to assist you accordingly. So that is the plea that we want to make as far as the reference number is concerned, which is your registration number. Now, the regulations provides that The fees payable to the council by social workers and child and youth care workers, as far as the registration fee is concerned, is 262. So I'm not going to read everything, colleagues. I'm just going to summarize in terms of these categories so that we will circulate this particular presentation, and it's also this information is contained in the regulations which we have published on our website. So additional levy in case of paragraph A, subparagraph 1 for registration that is requested to be finalized within 3 working days. This is speed service is 325. Registration fee by applicants who obtain their qualification at a training institute outside the Republic of South Africa, but within SADC is 1,934. Registration fee by applicants who obtain their qualification at a training institute outside the Republic of South Africa and outside SADC region is 3,804. Re-registration by a person whose registration has been suspended in terms of section 22, subsection 1, paragraph B. Remember, I spoke to the suspension as one of the 4 possible sanctions. If after the period of the suspension has lapsed, you want to re-register, you must pay a fee of 803 rands. Re-registration fee by a person whose registration has been cancelled in terms of subsection 1, paragraph C. This is where we removed your name from the register as a result of the disciplinary inquiry. When you come back, you have been rehabilitated, because cancellation of your registrations, colleagues, that's something we need to emphasize. Cancellation of one's registration after a disciplinary inquiry is not for life. After some years, the Act does not prescribe after how many years can you come back and re-register, but it makes provision for re-registration after cancellation of your registration. And when you come back, you feel that you are a fit and proper person to can register and practice, and that you have been rehabilitated, you will have to pay 803 rands. The annual fee for social workers and child and youth care workers for the 2024-2025 financial year is 500 rand, colleagues. Now you go to another category, social workers and child and youth care workers. My apology is still continuing, it's not another new category. The re-registration and annual fee. So this is basically the restoration in terms of section 20, subsection 3, which I spoke to. If you want to restore your name, because your name has been removed in terms of the section 20. So for the reasons contained in section 20. So if you want to come back, you'll have to pay 762 for restoration of your name into the register. The registrar's fund for fees paid after 31st March, please note that this provision is not applicable, colleagues, because the restoration fee, it basically talks to what is called a fine. It's an example of a fine, so it's not applicable, colleagues. Please do not pay any money to council. If you are advised by any person to pay what is called a fine, please note that we do not make social service professionals to pay fines, colleagues. The only money that you must pay for restoration of your name into the register is the restoration fee and the annual fee for that applicable financial year. The examination fee for the purpose of an examination of a person who obtained a qualification outside the Republic in terms of section 17, capital letter D, subsection 3 is 1,234. The examination fee for those who obtain qualification inside the Republic in terms of section 18, capital letter A, subsection 5 is 1,340. The admin fee for reassessment of an application as a result of resubmission due to insufficient information, you will have to pay 240. Now, another category, colleagues, for specialty. If you are registered for specialty in adoption, probation, occupational, clinical, or forensic specialty or forensic work, the assessment fee therefore is 900 rands. Registration fee is 233, and the registration is 803. re-registration
want to make sure that we find that one. And just use the top one. Should be okay. If it doesn't work, just try the other one.
re-registration as
But it
far
should
as
be
after your
working
name has
totally
been
fine. We just
cancelled from
install
the
the driver
register
there.
is 803
So once
as
it's
well.
completed,
And the annual fee
now we see
for a
everything
person
here.
who's
And you're also
registered
going
for
to see that there
specialty is
is
500
like
so meaning
Dell.
that if you are a social worker, as a minimum, you need to pay a separate 500 rand for being registered as a social worker. And if you have registered for specialty, you must pay another 500 rand as far as your registration in a particular specialty is concerned. So the 500 for social work is separate, the 500 for specialty is separate colleagues. The re-registration or restoration fee is 765 for colleagues who are registered for a particular specialty. Registrar's fund have indicated if you come across it in the regulations, not applicable. And if somebody from office advises you to pay a fine, please, colleagues do not pay a fine. Just inform that colleague to please go and read the regulations and also read this presentation, or also follow the instructions that have been issued out to staff within the Secretariat of Council. Examination fee for specialty in terms of those registered in terms of section 14 capital letter C is 1,304. The admin fee for reassessment of an application is 214.
Let's go ahead. Actually, go on other computer.
Now, another category is for student social workers. So this is category 3. Remember, we spoke about category 1 is social workers and child and care workers at professional level. Then the second category we spoke about those who are registered for specialty, and category C is student social workers and student child and care workers. So the registration fee there is 265. Registration is 804.
And we're going to go down, scroll down, see if we see anything that looks interesting. We do find something that looks interesting. We see Intel Rapid Storage Technology Driver and Application. So what we want to do is we can plug in a USB now. Okay, so we plugged in our USB. So what we want to do is we want to download this driver. So let's download it and let's select our drive. And we're going to hit save. Okay, so we see that it's been downloaded. Now we want to hit show in folder. You might have something somewhere else that it might show the download for. You can go in the corner or maybe just go back to USB. This is what it's going to be doing. So when you hit show in folder, it's going to show this. Now this is an application. If you're running as an application, it's not going to work. It's not going to see it when we go back to that page. We want to actually extract this, and we don't want to use this as an application because it's not going to see it as an application. So we want to extract it. Now I already have something that's called 7-zip, and you can use 7-zip to extract the exe file. So let's just assume we don't have 7-zip or we don't have any type of like WinRNR or any type of extractor. So you would need to get at least 7-zip. You probably and install it. So once you have it automatically appears, you don't have to put anything else. Now we want to extract it. So we want to do extract to, and you want to have it the name of the folder that's called. It's going to open like that. So you see this progress bar. It's going to go ahead and finish, and then it's going to have a bunch of folders that are going to open up.
Child and care workers and social auxiliary workers is that
so you get this folder.
The annual fee is 500 rand for social workers and child and care workers at professional level, and the 215 for those who are registered at auxiliary level. Now, the fees payable pertaining to continuing professional development colleagues, the fee for the approval of CPD activity offered to practitioners at no cost to the practitioner. So if a service provider is providing a training or CPD accredited training or activity and is not charging our social service professionals, we will charge that person 150 rand. But if a service provider or employer or whoever, and it cannot be employer cannot charge, it's not a good example, cannot charge professionals for taking them to training. But however, if there's that kind of a practice, police, whoever is providing a CPD accredited activity and charges our social service professionals, that person must pay a fee of 800 rand. Then admin fee for the reassessment of these applications for CPD is 214. Then miscellaneous fees to be paid to the council for if you want a duplicate for us to reissue a registration certificate, the amount is 275. If you want to inspect our register per occasion, the amount is 275. If you want us to issue an extract from the register, it's 562. the fee for certificate of status of good standing, which is the status report.
You want to click
The amount is
15063.
672.
And what you're really looking for is this F6 folder, because that's what's going to have it in here. So this is going to be your VMD driver. That's there. So now we're good. We actually have this in a folder.
We've summarized all the categories in terms of the fees payable. The critical issue on this slide, colleagues, is that the annual fee in terms of the new regulation, the annual fee for social service professionals is payable on or before 1st January of each year, not the 2nd of January, colleagues, and not the 31st of March. As I've indicated earlier on, the 31st of March is the end of the financial year. That is not the last date for the payment of the annual fee. Fees are due by the 1st of January each year. And the classical example gravitating towards the new financial year, 2024-2025 financial year, your annual fee is due by the 1st of January 2024 and not the 31st of March 2024. And the amounts there, we spoke to them, 500 rands and 250 for those two different professional categories. And the date, as I've indicated, of the 31st March, allow me to repeat this point, colleagues, is the end of the financial year, and it serves a different purpose as far as the regulations on fees payable are concerned. So we are pleading with all colleagues to please pay your annual fee on time so that we use the period until the 31st of March to process the payments, and so that by 1st April 2024, we want to ensure that all social service professionals who have paid the annual fees are in possession of their practice cards. Now, the regulation continues, colleagues. It talks to first-time registrations as a social worker, social auxiliary worker, a child and youth care worker, or auxiliary child and youth care worker. So a person who's registering for this specialty, the annual fee is payable. So you must pay the registration fee and the annual fee in full for the financial year. So what happened in terms of these new regulations? It removed, or it has removed the provision of a pro rata. The previous regulation used to make provision for a pro rata to say if you come in the middle of a financial year, you won't pay the full annual fee for that year, only pay a portion of that in the form of a product. So if you come in June, they will prorate it and only pay a balance in terms of what is outstanding for that financial year. So basically, if it's 500, you divide the 500 into 12. Then when you come, you pay the pro rata. So they use these new regulations, they've done away with the pro rata provision. If you come back at any point in time, or any point in time during the financial year, you come to register with cancer, you must pay the full annual fee. And in case of a person who applies for re-registration in terms of the Act application, after the expiry of the suspension period, the registration fee and the annual fee again is also applicable. It must be paid in full. The same applies to those who are trying to re-register after their names have been removed from the register. You must pay the full annual fee. Now, the regulation goes further to say, in the case, I'm reading paragraph 5 there. In the case of a person whose name is restored in terms of section 20, subsection 3, to the register referred to in terms of section 19. Remember, I spoke to section 19 earlier on. The restoration fee and the annual fee must be paid in full for the financial year concerned before such person's name is re-entered or restored to the register, provided that if you are owing us historical fees, colleagues, you must pay all those outstanding financial years that you are owing to council. So if you have not been paying us in 2019, 2017, and so forth and so forth, before we can restore your name into the register, you must pay all the monies that you are owing to council. So this is what the regulations are saying before we can restore your name to the register. And this one and this
we can unplug this and plug back in our Dell laptop, and we'll go through it step by step since we have it installed. So if you're in BIOS mode, we can just exit out of BIOS mode, and we want to turn it on.
So we cannot say that this regulation came into place in 2023. Therefore, council cannot pay you the monies that are owing you in 2017. So these regulations are applicable irrespective. If you are owing us historical fees, you must pay those historical fees. The other issue is that the fees that we've spoken to, colleagues alluded to, or which are provided in the regulations, they include VAT. So you don't have to pay, when you pay 500, you don't have to pay VAT on top of it, which is 15%. No, you don't have to pay it. VAT is included, is 500 across social workers, 250 across child and care workers at auxiliary level and social auxiliary workers. So you don't have to pay additional monies as far as VAT is concerned. So our fees are VAT inclusive. Now, Regulation 3 makes provision for exemption from paying applicable annual fees. So there are 3 categories under which a person may not pay the annual fee. And the first category is a person who is unemployed, or a person who has attained my approach, a person who has attained the age of 65 on 1st January and is not employed or is fully employed. So if you have reached over the age of 65, you are exempted. We regard you as one of our senior citizens. So you are exempted from paying annual fee, provided that you apply to council on or before the 30th of June. So the closing date is coming today, colleagues. Today is the 27th. The closing date for applications of exemption is coming in 2 days' time or so. So please encourage those who have reached the age. So you cannot say I've reached the age of 65, therefore I'm not going to pay. So we cannot exempt a person from paying an annual fee while we are not in possession of his or her application. Now, another category where a person may be exempted from paying the annual fee, it's a person who is experiencing, for health reasons, who is not medically fit to practice. You may qualify for an exemption. And the other category is for people who are unemployed for a period of 3 consecutive months or long. So you will qualify for an exemption, colleagues. However, you need to apply, and you must also attach an affidavit, which the form can be accessed on our website. We recall we issued a general notice sometime. Ms. Mbuzo will remind me of the date, where we were informing the sector in terms of the support that we give to our colleagues who are unemployed, to say, please apply for an exemption. And again, the closing date is the 30th of November, colleagues. So encourage everyone. I see colleagues on Facebook. I try to go on Facebook. Sometimes I'm not full time there. When we finish when we're doing the last week, we were at Daily Theatre, where they were celebrating or recognizing or honoring social workers. So colleagues, they were throwing things on Facebook. There are others, there were positive messages. Others, we still experience negative messages, but we appreciate the criticism. But some of the criticism, colleagues, I must be honest, it is because social service professionals are not familiar with the Social Service Professions Act. Because the minute we are familiar with the Act, some of the issues that we are saying on Facebook, colleagues will not say them. But one message that we take, colleagues, and the criticism is us to improve the quality of service that we are giving to our social service professionals. It's an area that we need to work hard on. But part of the challenge, without making an excuse, is because colleagues were only having one office in Pretoria servicing all these provinces, and including the populace. Because if you are having over 50 million population, all these people are the beneficiaries of social services. In one way or the other, they interact with social workers and social service professionals. We need to assist them in terms of the challenges that they experience. But council is working hard, colleagues, to ensure that sooner or later we have provincial footprints, that we have provincial offices where you can access our services in your respective provinces, and also to members of the public to access our services in their respective provinces. So, but the message that we sent across, I want to send across colleagues, because is to say, please inform colleagues who are unemployed to apply for an exemption from paying the 2024-2025 financial year annual fee. So the closing date is the 30th of November. Now, another category where a person may qualify for an exemption, and this will be the 50% exemption, is for a person who is not longer practicing social work and applies in writing to us to say, I'm no longer practicing social work,
and we want to hit F12. We're going to be greeted by this, and we want to select our UEFI. That's going to be our bootable installer. And now we're just going to go hit our UEFI USB, which is the one that we want anyway. Now we have our USB here, right? And we want to go ahead and plug in our USB so we can see the rest of them. Okay, so we can hit accept. We have to sign our life away to Microsoft. So, man, anyone read this whole thing? Let me know below if you've ever read the whole thing or got close to reading the whole thing. I would like to know if there's something funny in there. Okay, so we're going to be here at this page. You always want to hit custom install Windows. I'm sure, again, if you're doing this, you probably already know that, and we still have a problem with the driver. So now what we want to do here is, since we have our USB already plugged in, so we want to hit load driver.
Category 1 is those who have reached the age of 65, health reasons, those who are unemployed, or those who are no longer interested in practicing the profession within which they are registered. They will qualify for 50% exemption. And the closing date again is the 30th of November. But for those who are not working, I mean, you can do it at any point in time. But the best way is to do it as soon as possible, so that we know by 1st April as to where do we stand, so that we avoid removing your name from the register. Because this is what is going to happen, colleagues. Any person who have not paid their annual fee 90 days counting from the 2nd of January 2024, those people's names are going to be removed from the register for failure to pay the annual fee. So that's part of the reasons why we're doing this workshop, because year in, year out, we are experiencing a huge number of social service professionals. They are not paying their annual fees and they continue to practice. And now it appears we become generous. We allow them to practice contravening the act, colleagues. That practice, it has to come to an end, because sooner or later we're going to have experienced a majority of number of social service professionals being dominated, or the statutory body being dominated by people who are practicing without registering. Basically, we don't have a statutory board. If your statutory body is dominated by people who are not legally registered, you might just as well we close shop and allow everyone to do everything that they want to do. So there's against this reason why we want to adopt a stand firm, colleagues, to be firm on this issue of the failure to pay the annual fees, so that we address those colleagues who are just failing to do the simple things and adhering to the rules and regulations, and damaging the names and the reputation of our statutory body and our professions. So we clarified this issue of the exemptions. Then Regulation 4 talks to the repealing of the 2021 regulation. So the last regulations which were in place as far as the fees payable by social service professionals were published on the 19th of November 2021. So those regulations have been repealed by the June 2023 regulations. Now, the publishing of a list of valid transaction, colleagues, the regulation says we must publish the transaction type codes in terms of the regulation, in terms of the monies that are payable by social service professionals. We have done so. We've also issued a reminder last week. I mean, I'm not sure that's last week, Ms. Mbuzo, or on Monday. On the website, if you visit our website, colleagues, you'll find these regulations, and also the one that we've issued in July, And also, we just recently issued a reminder so that people do not come and say, but we were not aware that we were supposed to pay 500 rand or we're supposed to pay 250 as far as social auxiliary workers and child care workers at auxiliary level are concerned. Now, payments that cannot be correctly allocated, that's sub-regulation 4. Payments that cannot be correctly allocated because of failure to comply with sub-regulation 2 will be regarded as not having been received in time if there's any deadline by which the payment is due. So we may give you an example to say the annual fee for 2024-2025 financial year is 1st January 2024, and this will be regarded as the due date. Usually is regarded as the due date. So if you pay after the 1st of January, chances are that you will be regarded as having not paid. We will regard as not having received your payment. But administratively, we will try so that we don't penalize as many people. So we'll work with you slowly until within the 90 days calculated. So let's leave this issue of the 1st of March for this. When we're talking about the payment of annual fee, please do not refer to the 1st of March. The law says fees are due by the 1st of January. And if you go to section 20, subsection 1, paragraph D of the Act, it says within 3 months after the money fell due and you have not paid it, your name must be removed from the register. Basically, 90 days, you must calculate it from the 2nd of January 2024. If you have not paid within that 90 days, we are going to remove your name from the register, and we found you practicing, then we will invoke the necessary provisions of the Social Service Professions Act. Now, a payment contemplated in sub-regulation 4 shall be kept in a separate account until such time that the person who made the payment is identified for a period not exceeding 3 months. So meaning that if you pay money and we cannot recognize that payment, you will make payment into council's account and you cannot recognize as to who is the payee for that particular amount. We will keep it in a separate account for a period of 3 years, and after 3 years, then we will use that money for operations of council, because we can't pay back this money because we don't know who does it belong to. So the regulation says keep it for 3 years in a separate account, after which if there's no person claiming it, then you must use it for the purpose of the day-to-day operations of council. Now, what are the methods of payments for the annual fees? Note the following facilities for the payment of annual fees. You may pay directly at any branch of Nedbank. Currently, as individuals, can't use your practice number as your reference number, as the plea that I've made on your deposit slip. Employers must provide council with a detailed list containing the names, registration number, and amounts paid in respect of each person. Failure to comply with these requirements could lead to the wrong allocation of funds or the non-allocation of funds. Electronic and internet payment is there. Colleagues kindly use your user practice number as your reference number so that you can allocate the money accordingly. Payment directly at the SACSSP offices. Employers must provide the detailed list again in terms of the people that they've paid for, and we really want to commend and appreciate employers who are making bulk payments. It really assists us colleagues. The individual payments it's a bit problematic for us colleagues, and we want to encourage that social service professional, please organize yourself and engage your employer so that payments can be done through your employers. It is working very well. For colleagues who are working in the Department of Social Development and Department of Health, you are aware that you are not supposed to make direct payments to council as far as the annual fees are concerned, because employer will take care of that particular process. They will deduct money from your salary through PESAL, and they will pay it directly to us. So please do not make payments directly to council, because it's going to result in what we call duplicate, and we have to repay you those monies, which is another additional administrative work for us. And with the number of staff that we have in the council, colleagues, we're having a shortage of staff. The more we create additional work, the more we are redirected to attend to other issues instead of focusing on the core mandate of council and servicing you. So those are the banking details of council. We are using the NetBank as our bank. There's the account number and other details and so forth. So please, colleagues, let's do the right thing. Let's encourage other social service professionals who are not in this webinar to do the right thing. So methods of payments continue, say pay through debit or credit card by scanning the QR code indicated on the invoice, like I've indicated earlier on, colleagues, that we've issued invoices. If you have not received one, please engage us so that we can assist you with the invoice. However, colleagues, not being in possession or not being issued with an invoice does not excuse a person from paying the annual fee. Whether you have received the invoice or not, by today, or at least latest today, you know the amount as far as the annual fee is concerned, and you know how to pay it. So do not say, I did not receive the invoice, therefore I'm not going to pay the annual fee. So it's your responsibility as a social service professional to pay the annual fee by the 1st of January each year. Now, those are the methods of payments, colleagues, that are indicated then. And again, we also appreciate institutions of higher learning who are assisting us in terms of doing the bulk payments. It works better for us. There's a room to improve around that area, but working together with our colleagues in the registrations division, we believe that we will improve this service. Now, what are the consequences for failure to pay the annual fee on time? I spoke to Section 20 earlier on, and it provides that the council may order the registrar to remove the name of any person from the register concerned if the council is satisfied that such person has failed to pay the annual fee, which he owes to council within 3 months. Remember, I spoke about the 90 days. So this is where now the power for us to remove your name from the register comes from colleagues. And the name of a person who fails to pay the money owed to council may be removed from the register after the 90 days, counting from 2nd January 2024. I spoke to it earlier on, colleagues. Now, Regulation 4, Sub-Regulation 2 of the regulations regarding the registration of social workers, it provides that the certificates of registration is deemed to have been withdrawn from the date the name of the holder thereof was removed from the list. So your registration certificate, colleagues, is subject to the payment of the annual fee. So if you have not paid your annual fee and your name has been removed from the register, your registration certificate is deemed as not being valid. It's invalid, it's illegal, you cannot use it anywhere. That is why we encourage employers to say, when you are employing a person, one, demand or request that colleague to produce, in addition to the registration certificate, to produce the practice cards. Because the practice cards, it will tell you whether that person is in good standing or not. But further to that, colleagues, visit our website and verify a person's registration status, or call our registrations division or professional conduct division to assist you in terms of verifying as to whether that person is registered or not before you employ that person. So this is a plea that we are making to our employers to verify a person's registration status before you employ them, because others, they use a registration certificate, they mislead you, while in actual fact, they are not in good standing because they failed to pay the annual fee. Now, Section 20, subsection 1, capital letter A, provides that notice of removal of any person's name from the register by virtue of the provisions of paragraph B and H, which are the reasons why a person's name may be removed from the register, shall be given. So basically, Section 20 compels council to issue a notice. When we deregister a person, we must issue with a letter of notice to say your name has been removed from the register in terms of section so and so. Now, we spoke to Section 16 colleagues that say any person who contravenes the provision of Section 15 shall be guilty of an offense and on conviction be liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 6 months. So these are some of the consequences that may fall upon a person who fails to pay the annual fee on time and continues to practice as if he or she is registered. Now, the rules relating to the acts or omissions of a social worker, a social auxiliary worker, a student social worker, which shall constitute unprofessional or improper conduct. I spoke to these rules earlier on, colleagues. Rule 3 is clear that the employment actually sub-rule 3 sub-rule 9, my apology. It provides that the employment of a person as a social worker, student social worker, or social auxiliary worker, knowing that such person has not been registered in terms of the act constitute unprofessional or improper conduct. And when you go to the rules relating to the acts of omission of child and youth care worker, it says the same thing. If you go to Rule 4, paragraph E, it says employing a person as a child and youth care worker, a student child and youth care worker, knowing that such person is not registered in terms of the act, it constitutes unprofessional or improper conduct. So we go to Rule 7, paragraph F again, employing a person who is not registered again as a child and youth care worker, constitute unprofessional or improper conduct, meaning that council may investigate you. Whoever is responsible for supervising that person and allocating work, we will hold you accountable in terms of Section 21. What is the recourse for the person whose name has been removed from the register? When your name has been removed in terms of Section 20, subsection 1, paragraph D, for example, for failure to pay an annual fee. So Section 20, subsection 3 says you may apply for restoration, and if the reasons which led your name to be removed from the register in the first time or in the first place cease to exist, and that you satisfy as far as the requirements for registrations are concerned, you may apply and we will consider your application, provided you must pay the restoration fee and the annual fee applicable for that financial year. Then we can restore you. But here is the challenge of this. The council has improved or tightened the processes as far as the restoration is concerned, in that colleagues who have been out of the profession, be it social work, child and youth care work, or social auxiliary work, for a period of more than 5 years, restoration is not automatic, colleagues. When you come back to restore, you will be subjected to the restoration process. And after the restoration panel has assessed your application and secretariat has assessed your application, they may refer your application for you to go for an interview and be interviewed by the restoration panel so that they can determine as to whether you are a fit and proper person. So the rules are still relaxed. We're trying to tighten them. So any person who has been out of the profession for not more than 5 years, at least those one will qualify for what you call straight restoration. But provided there's no pending criminal case against you, then you will be restored automatically. Provided if you are owing us historical fees, as I've indicated earlier on, you must also pay those outstanding historical fees. So we have what you call automatic restoration and fit and proper, or what you call restoration process restoration, if I were to use loosely those words that use 5 years and above, you will be subjected to an interview. If you are less than 5 years out of the profession, you may qualify for what we call a straight restoration. But if you do not have a criminal offense or pending criminal inquiries against your name. Now, in the event that we remove your name or we refuse to enter your name into the register, or you are not happy with the outcome of a disciplinary inquiry, as I've indicated, you have the right to appeal that decision in terms of Section 25. Now, what are the roles and responsibilities of employers or social service professionals and employers of social service professionals? It's our appeal, colleagues, that please comply with the Act, the rules, and the regulations. And to our employers, we really appreciate you for giving our social service professionals a platform to practice. However, this relationship between you and our social service professionals and us comes with the responsibility that you need to implement and enforce the Act, the rules, and the regulations. And where necessary, take the steps to ensure that you enforce or implement the Labor Relations Act against social service professionals who refuse or fail to comply with the Act rules and regulations, and report same to council. Recently, we received a complaint against 2 social auxiliary workers. So if they are here, it's fine. We need to share this information, because it's some of the things, experiences that we come across. So the colleagues, they applied for a job as a social auxiliary workers. As child and care workers, apology, at a particular center. Now, they knew that that center operates 24 hours and there are social service professionals who are supposed to do shifts. You will do day shift, on a particular day you do a night shift. Now, the colleagues, they applied for job, they got the job. Now, in the middle of the contract, then they want to negotiate that they only work day shift because of personal reasons. It's fair. Now, employer does not agree to say you work for day shift. Now, they resign with immediate effect without giving a notice, without taking into consideration the impact their decision will have on those clients, because they've already established a relationship with the children in that particular facility. Now, that constitutes unprofessional or improper conduct, because you knew in advance when you were entering into a contract that in this particular workplace, they are doing shift work. Now, you resign, and the basic conditions of Employment Act again is clear that if you have worked for a company for a particular period, for particular weeks or months, the notice period that you must serve at least a week. Now, they did not even try to serve a week. They did not even try to serve a month. Actually, a month would have been big, huge, if I were to put that, or unreasonable to us. But that conduct constitutes a breach of contract of employment. So an employer may agree, or I'll release you, or refuse to pay you the monies in terms of what you will be eligible to receive for that particular period, or hold you into that contract. And if they hold you into that contract, it constitutes what you call a breach of contract of employment as far as the employer-employee relationship is concerned, and to also constitute unprofessional or improper conduct. Now, there are colleagues, again, who are refusing to render services or render services in a manner which does not comply with the general accepted standard of practicing the profession. Is the responsibility of the employer, colleagues, to hold you accountable, because you are our ambassadors. We send you out there to represent us as the SACSSP, and you know the standard of conduct of professional conduct. So in the event you do the opposite of what we expect you to do, or the statutory body expect you to do, is the responsibility of employers and the beneficiary of social services to hold you accountable. However, colleagues, we also need to say this issue to the employers and to members of the public. Please do not lodge false complaint against our social service professionals, because it creates a problem. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of energy, a lot of emotions and so forth for somebody to face false allegations, even though that you know that the allegations against you are false, colleagues. But for you, the energy, the time that a person needs to spend responding to those allegations, it takes time, and it defocuses those people and so forth. So they plead to our employers and to members of the public, please do not lodge false complaint against social service professionals, because we must follow the rules, the regulations in terms of investigating that matter. One, we must notify that person and request him or her to respond within 21 days. Now, this person is busy in the middle of an exam or at work, there's a lot of work reports this month end, or at the end of the quarter to submit quarterly reports and so forth. Now you are defocusing this person to focus on the actual work, now to respond to a complaint which the allegations are false. You know you cannot prove those allegations. So it's a plea to our employers and members of the public, please, because much as we must hold our social service professionals accountable, we also have the responsibility to protect them against unfounded allegations or criticisms, colleagues. So it's a plea that we are making, but where our social service professionals are doing wrong things, please enforce the act, the rules, and the regulations. Now that brings us to the end of the presentations. There is our website, our Facebook account, our Twitter account, the office cell phone number, and my cell phone number, colleagues, being that you can use to contact us, where we can assist with you. So in the event we do not answer your calls, as far as the cell phone is concerned, colleagues, please understand, because we are always in the meetings and the workshops, but we will always try to respond to your queries. But we always encourage colleagues to use the email address. It's easier. I prefer email address because I know what I'm dealing with. Then it's easy to respond to that particular query, because the cell phones, the statement can change tomorrow. So please use what you call email addresses in the main, and only cell phones in matters of of emergency, if I were to put that way. My last input to our social service professionals is that, colleagues, where social work is not an easy profession, even social work and child and care work, it's not an easy profession to practice, where you are experiencing issues of ethical dilemma, you are not sure as to what you need to do. Please contact your supervisor, your social work manager, or your employer who's responsible for the provision of social services, or contact counsel so that we can see how we can assist you. So please do not venture into wrong things or into a territory you are not familiar with, and do wrong things, and at the later stage and say you were not aware, you did not know what to do. So it's our plea, colleagues, to say, please, let's ensure that we guard our profession, we protect and promote our profession, and also guard against people who are attacking the profession, people who are attacking the statutory body, and people who are attacking other social service professional colleagues. We need to protect our profession and the space within which we are working with. We are working with a program director. Thanks very much for the opportunity, and to everyone for paying attention to our presentation. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hitler Sikitla. A well presented presentation. I'm sure all our registrants had heard it to the point of every statement that was made, and really it was very informational, and it was very straight to the point. Thank you for that. Even as we come to the point where the the registrants had requested for the presentations and the audio to be sent to them. Yes, we will definitely do that for your information, so that you can always refer back to for any clarities that you require. Thank you once again for honoring our invitation and being a part of it today, so that we could go forward. Whatever questions you have, you may raise your hand or type in the chat box. We will then respond to you. Thank you so much for that. And I would like to continue with the questions and answers, and then Mr. Sikitla will answer them. Thank you. Okay, I see a hand raised for Bongani. Nelly, please raise it. unmute yourself and you can continue.
Okay, good day, colleagues. And then much appreciation from the council for hosting this webinar. However, as good as it is, I have some questions, especially when it comes to registration from the 1st of January. Yes, it has been repeated several times, but the more it is repeated is the more I'm losing it as to how does the council expect people to pay the registration fee from the 1st? Remember, December is that a festive month, holidaying, people coming in. They are still on holiday on the 1st, and the council is saying pay your fees on the 1st. Stop whatever you're doing and pay those fees. One. Number two, it is the issue I'm working for the NPO, and the emphasis also was made on the registration of child and youth care workers. For many years, our child and youth care workers have been working for 40 years, 20 years, 30, number of years. And we tried to enroll them with a particular institution to be trained. And even though some were trained in 2019, they have not yet received the certificate, and it has been difficult for the council to register them, even though they have been registered based on the submission of the job description, as well as the number of years that form that as employers we were supposed to fill. That expired this year. We still have that challenge that from 2019, and those who finished this year, they have finished without even having been registered as students, having challenges around that. So I'm not sure how can the council help us, because now it's not about these people themselves. We come, we speak, we negotiate. The health and welfare center and the training institution, they are not giving these people the registration that they deserve. So I've got those two burning ones. I will reserve some for now, for later. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Bongani. Can we get your, I see there's a raised hand from Anna Karin. Please go ahead and pose your question.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I just want to ask about the training, the ethic trainings that the council is doing. I am located in KZN, which is quite far away from Pretoria. Would they be able to come down to us as well? Because we can arrange a big group of social workers. Will it come with a cost, or do the council prefer to do it digitally when it's so far away? So that's my question. Thank you.
May I have clarity on what category training are you looking for, Anna?
It's the ethic trainings that Hitler was mentioning before.
All right, thank you for that. We have clarity. Thank you. I have another registrant, Lindiwe Lamini. Please pose your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues, and for the presentation. I just have a quick comment and a question for the council. I think we cannot run away that between the council and the SSPs, I might say some, which are a majority, SSP, there is a cold front in between. And it's been building over years of not understanding each other. And a lot of councils and executives have come to the fore, but the relationship is not mending. What can be done? Because I give 50% of the blame to us as SSPs, but I also give 50% to the council to do something different, innovative they've never done before. So that we embrace our council. Sometimes I'm very jealous when I see other councils. And the second question is, our profession is being violated, especially the social work. Who's responsible between the three-legged pot? The council, the association, and then the trade unions. I do understand the trade, but between the two, there are many mushrooming coaches, community-based people who are doing counseling, therapeutic, and who is supposed to intervene there? And it's getting complicated, especially with online every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindiwe, for that. I just need to check. Okay, we don't have any other questions or raised hands. Over to you, Mr. Sikitla. Oh, okay, sorry, there's another hand that is raised. I see there's a guest. Kate, please pose your question.
Hi, everybody. So I would just like to know, I understand that as a social work student, we need to register with the council second year. When would we be able to go ahead and register? Because I've still got an exam the 1st of December. So do you guys need any of our results, any of those things, or can I just go ahead and register even though I still have an exam left for my first year? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Kate. I'm still seeking for other questions. I don't see any hands raised. Okay, we'll continue to answer these questions. Thank you, Mr.
Thanks, Program Director. In terms of the student social workers, at the least, if my memory serves me well, at least before end of June or July of each year, when you're starting your second year, you must register with us. So common cause is that you can't go into second year from your university if you have not obtained your what you call you've made that you can go to the second year. So it's that the requirement that it will be needed for you to be able to register as a student social worker. So all the registrations for student social workers and even for new social workers, they are done online. So what we want to do, colleagues, is that to simplify this process, and it goes in line with what Medlamini is saying, that what is it that we can do so that we may mend the relationship between social service professionals and the council. So our approach, or one of our innovative work, colleagues, is to go to the universities or work with the universities directly to assist the student with the registration instead of the student doing individual registration. So registrations division will work on a program and engage directly with the universities. We tried it this year. It worked with other universities where we arranged, for example, KZN in Popo and so forth, where we go to a university on a particular day, they organize a computer lab. We sit there with our registrants or our students. We assist them with their registration. So that's another approach that we will continue adopting to assist you so that you don't get to be affected as a student social worker. Now, Medlamini says there's a gap which we really agree with. It's what we call social distance between the council and its social service professionals, and this has resulted or led into poor relationship. Hence, what is happening on Facebook, people are not happy with the SACSSP, but I want to comment to Medlamini that as a social service professionals, we must also take responsibility and be familiar in terms of what is the SACSSP all about. And I even myself, I must take responsibility. When I was still practicing as a social work, there are certain things that I did not know about cancer. And I only learned about them when I started working council. At some point, we were in council for certain things, but at the end of the day, I realized no, but it's ourselves, it's myself who's supposed to have paid the annual fee on time and so forth. But I agree with you on the issue of that we must find innovative ways, colleagues, of reaching out to our social service professionals. And one of the ways of doing this is to convene these regular webinars, colleagues. And in addition to regular webinars, colleagues, we ensure that at least once a month we conduct the Code of Ethics workshops, and the colleagues from KZN invite us at your respective workplace, arrange everyone supposed to attend. We will come. We are providing public services. No one should pay for being trained by the SACSSP colleagues. The Code of Ethics workshops are for free. What you do, you coordinate, organize everyone, you indicate to us. Fortunately, if you have money to pay for our flight or accommodation, well and good, we will come. But if you are unable, your budget does not allow to pay for our flight and accommodation, we will look into our budgets, because part of the money that you are paying for as your annual fees, colleagues, that are meant to be used to cover those costs as far as education and training for our social service professionals concerned. So invite us probably around next year, February, March, coordinate the workshops, we will come. So if it's for, the best way is to separate these two Code of Ethics colleagues. Coordinate one for social workers and social auxiliary workers, because it takes almost 4 hours to do that workshop. And those who are employers of child and youth care workers, who are also encouraging you to do the same, coordinate the workshop. We will come to your respective workplace and conduct those particular Code of Ethics workshops. So, I mean, we are agreeing with you, but let's also encourage social service professionals to come closer to their statutory bodies and inquire in terms of learning or studying the Social Service Professions Act, the rules and regulations, before going on public and attacking your statutory body colleagues. The issues that what value are, what contribution are you making? Because one thing I always encourage colleagues is that as social workers, we are capable, colleagues. The social work profession empowers, or qualification empowers us with a lot of skills, colleagues. The question is, what extent are we using our knowledge and skills to the disposal of the SACSSP? What contributions are we making to the SACSSP? What suggestions are we putting to the SACSSP in terms of the issues? The question that social service professionals must answer, you need to question the finances of the SACSSP. How is council being funded? Is it well funded? What is it that we can do to assist in terms of ensuring that our statutory body's reputation is protected and so forth? So I'm leaving it up to you, colleagues. However, as Secretariat, we have the responsibility as well to be innovative, as Ms. has proposed. But what is it that we as individual social service professionals are doing to ensure that our statutory body is being transformed? Now, the Menaile on the issue of the date of the payment of the annual fee. Yeah, Menaile, there's no way in the act or regulations that says social service professionals must stop enjoying their life or do other things and pay the annual fee. However, as social service professionals, colleagues, we must get our priorities correct and ensure that we comply with the law. So the law says the annual fee is due on or before. So you don't have to wait for the 1st of January to make the payment. It stays on or before. So if today you are in possession of, you are able to pay the annual fee, which is 500 rand, you don't have to wait for the 1st of January. But we cannot say, colleagues, the law. Let's take, for example, when you want to renew your driver's license or your car disc. You can't go to the Department of Transport and say, why did you put this date? Why did you not put this date? Because on this particular date, I will be celebrating and so forth. I mean, then you'll never have a count to colleagues where the law has to be amended or changed to accommodate certain things which are individual things. You will never have the law. So, however, in this case, the law says the annual fee is paid. It's not us council colleagues, it's the law that says we implement the law, and these regulations are made by the Minister of Social Development on the recommendation of council after having gone through the process of public comments for everyone who has an opportunity or an interest to make public comment. But colleagues, we cannot, if we were to, I were to say, I'm not saying social workers who are not prioritizing colleagues, but fair enough. If I have to celebrate festive season and paying my annual fee as a social service professional, I will definitely pay my annual fee and sacrifice other things. So that is how it's supposed to be. We understand that you're supposed to buy children's clothes, Christmas clothes and New Year's clothes and so forth, and other commitments. But when the law is in place, colleagues, as social service professionals, we need to prioritize and ensure that we comply with the law. But you don't have to wait for the 1st of January to pay for the annual fee. On the issue of child and care workers who are affected by the sunset clause, I take your points there, and we some of the colleagues came forward and they indicated that they are really struggling to get their qualification from service providers who were contracted by health and welfare sector and other institutions. So our plea there, colleagues, is that if there's any person who is affected by the sunset clause, please come forward and provide the reasons to council as to why you have not obtained your qualification as to date, so that council can make a determination as to whether they must continue deregistering your name or do something to protect you as far as your registration status is concerned. But you cannot sit in a corner, colleagues, and say, health and welfare status frustrating me. I'm not in possession of the certificate. I've tried. So come forward and engage council so that council can see how they deal with them. Because there will be different reasons, colleagues, why people are not in possession of the relevant qualification as far as child care is concerned. We know there are colleagues who at a particular point in time, we are told they were revolting. They did not want to register with the SACSSP. Hence, they decided that they are not going to go to school and obtain the relevant qualification. And the qualification that is required, it's a minimum 12 months program and NQF level 4 qualification that is required. Now, colleagues, imagine even if you are old or you are over the age of 50 or over the age of 55 or 40 and so forth, surely if you want to work with children and provide professional services, there must be some level of qualification that you must be in possession of, because you are working with vulnerable children. There are certain things that you need to know. There are certain things that you need to do as far as providing services to those people. So you cannot say, I will not go to school and obtain a qualification, because I've been in that's what the argument that other colleagues were saying. I've been in this profession for many years. Therefore, there's no one who's going to tell me what to do and not what to do. So those are some of the colleagues who, if they come forward and still advance those reasons, surely council will not listen to those reasons. But if you are saying, I tried, and this is how far I went. We studied, and at the time when the service provider was supposed to provide us with the certificate that we've completed, the service provider disappeared and so forth, or vanished and so forth. Those are some of the reasons we will listen. But the other reason which council will not listen, colleague, is when a colleague says, I did not have money to pay for the fees, for the study fees. Surely, colleagues, for over a period of almost 10 years, you could not invest in a NQF level 4 qualification, which is 12 months, at the level of a professional, because you need to decide. If you want to be a professional, you need to do what other professionals are saying and sacrifice certain things. However, in a nutshell, colleagues, any person who is assist you either to continue deregistering you and informing you of your rights to appeal in the event you are aggrieved, or to say, okay, we understand your situation, council, are the valid reasons we are persuaded by the reasons we are proposing 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point in time, I don't know what is it that council will do, but as soon as we get the persuasive reasons as to why a person's name should not be removed from the register, surely council will pay attention to those requests, colleagues. Program director, I think I attended to some of the question. I'm not sure if the registrations manager managed to connect so that she amplifies this issue of the student registration. And even yourself, chairperson, program director, I know you've been working with them for some time. Then you can also have a bite on that matter. So I'm not sure if there are questions on the chat bar. Program director, you'll bring them to our attention so that we can try to respond to same. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sikitla. Yes, we do have some questions on the chat bar, which we will then forward to, we'll answer that accordingly. And the question regarding the student registration, I will respond on that while we're checking for the questions on the chat bar. Yes, on the second year level, the entry candidates need to apply with council, and once the application is completed on the online system, there are required documents that has to be completed and submitted. So the academic transcript will be on the entry for the second year, attached with the ID and certified documents to be uploaded on the online system. And you would obtain then a practicum certificate, which allows you to enroll for your practical modules, and that is required from the institution that you are training with. I hope that clarifies that question on the second year levels. Yes, most institutions do not enroll the students to do practicals if they are not with council and they don't have the practical certificate that we issue at the time of your application. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a moment.
There are a few questions also on the chat bar, Mr. Sikitla. If I can just read the first one from Mr. Masindi. It reads as follows: how do we hold accountable elected members of the board if they are not delivering? Because honestly speaking, CYCs are not well represented. You judge that by looking in what is currently transpiring in CYC profession. We are not moving and the profession is over many years existing. We can't rely on slowly but surely. That is one question from Mr. Masindi. And there's also another question from Mashianoke Mapulane. If I've retired and my registration is up to date, I am not attached to any organization. If I identify any social ills within my community, am I allowed to act, or what will be my role? If I don't do anything, will I be held accountable? There's also another question. If I can just scroll down. Okay, the one from Anna Karin, she did raise her hand and asked about the workshop in KZN. If we can scroll down. I think there are a few. Okay, just a moment. Oh yes, here's another one from Tonia Maimele. I would like to inquire on what are the requirements needed to be registered to practice as an adoption social worker. I've been submitting since 2020 and making follow-ups with council but do not get any response. Other people receive their registration and receipts to practice as adoption social workers, and I also submitted same required documents as others. I have also made follow-up with everyone relevant to the matter since 2021 to date. May you or your council please assist me. Thank you. That is one question regarding adoption application. And also there is I think 2 more. And also there is another one from Mashila Shai. I work as an adoption social worker. I am yet to be registered. All particulars have been submitted. Kindly assist. If I can see the last one, if there is one. No, those are the questions posed through the chat box, Mr. Sikitla. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Ms. Mbuzu. How do members of the professional boards, how can we hold them accountable in the event they are failing to deliver? So I'm not sure, colleague, as to in terms of the current professional board for CYC, because they've just started last year in August. So I'm not sure in terms of their performance. Can we really say failure? So can we really say that they are failing, unless if we are talking in terms of the progress made since the establishment of the professional boards of child and care workers since around 2040. But with this current fourth board, colleagues, it came into place on the 17th actual of August. So they just finished a year of their 5-year term. So I'm not sure, Comrade Masindi, whether we can fairly say they failed to deliver. But what needs to happen is that amongst other activities that we need to do as the professional boards, we need to interact regularly with our constituency, which are the social service professionals. And part of what we are doing now, colleagues, is that we've been mandated by council and the 2 professional boards today to engage with you. So it might not be them directly engaging you in certain platforms, but they are the ones who give us a direction in terms of what we need to do. So I'm not sure, I can't say what needs to be done, but there's no provision in the Act in terms of dealing with the professional board failing to deliver. So it's up to the constituency. If you are not satisfied with the structure that you have elected or appointed, the first approach, my approach, is always to say engage. 1, write a letter to the relevant structure and raise concerns and request a response within this particular time or period, or engage or request a meeting to engage with that particular structure and come and list those issues to say these are the issues that we are having and they've been there for some time, they are not being attended to. Please address this particular issue. And in that meeting, then you ask them, say, but in the event that you are not doing what we are expecting to do, what do you expect us to do? Then you engage. And in the event that issues are not being attended to in the manner that you expect, the next level of engagement, it will be the Minister of Social Development. Then in the event that the Minister of Social Development is not addressing your issues that you might have raised, the next level of interaction, it will be the Portfolio Committee on Social Development. Then if the Portfolio Committee on Social Development is not attending to the issue, the next level, it will be Parliament itself, because this statutory body has been established in terms of an Act of Parliament. and also common cause, it will be the next person, it will be the president of the country. So my approach is always to say, colleagues, let's engage. When we are having issues, let's write or request a meeting with the relevant structure and raise our concerns. Now, on the issue, the colleague who says, I'm retired, I didn't hear the part whether this person is in good standing or not, but the principle is that if you are retired, you are no longer practicing, and you come across social issues, you have the right there to intervene, but make sure that you refer that matter to the relevant organization within that particular area as soon as possible, so that the relevant social workers can take the matter forward. But you cannot render full services, because intervention is when you are intervening, you are using your knowledge and skills to assist at a particular point in time because you are registered. However, you cannot take over that particular matter. You must refer that particular matter to the relevant organization as soon as possible. So, but we really appreciate social work or social service professionals who are on the ground and are monitoring as to what is happening on the ground, or not turning a blind eye on the issues or social issues that are happening in our respective communities. I mean, you have the responsibility to intervene. However, ensure that you refer that matter to the relevant organization within a reasonable period of time. I've applied for registering for specialty in social work since 2021, and I'm not being assisted. So colleagues, please leave your details on the chat bar and your email address, so that the colleagues who are responsible for ensuring that you get to be duly registered are in this particular webinar. They will attend to you as soon as we are done with this particular webinar today and take your matter forward. The other colleagues also says my application for adoption, specialty adoption, is still pending. Can I currently be assisted? Again, colleague, please leave your details, your contact details, so that the colleagues can attend to your matter before end of business today and verify your application and advise you as to what is still outstanding, and probably provide you with the reasons as to why your application has not been fully attended to date. There must be a reason, surely. I think there must be a reason as to why your matter has not been processed up to today. Thanks, Program Director. I think I've attempted to address the four additional questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kitla. I have a hand here which is raised from Lungiswa. Please pose your question. Thank you.
Good day, colleagues. I think my first question would be, what is the role of e-council in relation to our work? Because currently I'm working for DSD. There's too much political interference in our work. It's like now we are doing what politicians are saying we must do. We are not doing what is legislated and what is on policies. So it's really a serious challenge. So I would like to know what's the role of the council in terms of those. Where do we get assistance in terms of such? And then the other thing, that this thing of political interference is messing up with our work, that the focus now is on numbers, not on impact base. Everything that we do, we must report on the numbers, not on what has actually happened. And the other issue is the issue of SWS forms. There are CWS forms, there are SW forms. There are so many forms that as social workers we need to fill, which poses too much admin to social workers at operational level. And some of the forms are forms that are the social workers are expected that the clients must sign. when they are busy doing the intake. So I would also like to find out what is the role of council in relation to regulating the forms that we are using in practice. And the other issue is the institutions of higher learning. For me, in practice, I feel that what is happening in the institutions of higher learning is not what is in practice. So what is the role of a council in terms of regulating also what the institutions of higher learning are teaching to the student social workers versus what is in practice? Because it poses a challenge when we're coming back for those social workers coming to practice, especially in terms of reports. Their reports are very much different to what the practice is expected in practice. So yeah, I think I have those. That's all.
Thank you for that question, Lungiswa. Is there anybody else that has any concerns, would like to pose a question? If there is not anyone, Mr. Sikitla will answer that question. Thank you.
No, thanks, Program Director. The issue around what is the role of council in terms of the provision of social services, in particular around challenges where there's political interference, when social service professionals are redirected to do what is regarded as not the provision of social services, or where employers emphasize quantity versus quality. I want to believe the question goes along those lines, and so forth. Now, the Act is clear, colleagues. If you go to Section 3, it says we must advise the minister in relation to matters affecting the professions in respect of which professional body are established. So it's so broad. So my advice will be, where you come across these particular issues, colleagues, will request that you put them in writing, so that we take them through the professional board, for the professional board to note and engage on these issues that social service professionals are experiencing on the ground. Just 3 months ago, we received a letter from one of our social workers who is based in the Department of Social Development in the Free State Department, the Free State Province. So he brought the matter to our attention, that he observed that the armed court clerks who are rendering social work services, and they are doing social work within the maintenance court. So they call it there's what we call the domestic violence offices throughout all the magistrate across the country. So he says he observed that these colleagues are doing social work actually, basically they're interfering as far as the scope of our practice is concerned. So we took that matter to the professional board for social work. So they've deliberated on that matter, and they took a resolution that we need to engage the minister, the DG and the minister of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. So we have written the letter to the DG to engage on this matter. So, and our proposal there is that we want to propose to the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development to consider employing social workers and social auxiliary workers and place them in this, what we call domestic violence offices, so that our people can access social services from that particular point. Because what the gentleman said, or the colleague said, is that they interfere with cases, they take sides and they mislead people. And when the matters refer to the Department of Social Development, already a particular client is having a view in terms of how the matter should be finalized, which creates a difficulty for the social worker DSD to intervene. So I'm just giving an example in terms of what action will council or the professional board take in the event that social service professionals are bringing matters which are affecting them as far as the provision of social services is concerned on the ground. So at this point in time, allow me not to respond specifically to what you are saying, but the sooner that we receive something in writing, surely we will take that matter to the professional board concerned, and they will deliberate and communicate the feedback to you in terms of what will be the next course of action. On the issue of the forms, CW forms, we were in Gauteng last week, as I've indicated. So part of the presentation talked to the issue of the forms. And some of the submissions from our colleagues who were delegates to that, they were saying that some of the forms are in duplicates and so forth. So the advice that we gave to the Gauteng Department of Social Development is that firstly, the forms should be consulted with the social service professional so that you can have input in terms of those forms, because you are the ones who are going to utilize them on a daily basis. But we must appreciate, colleagues, the innovative and the innovative ways that the employers are trying to come up with to ensure that we render services to our people and we account at the end of the day. Sometimes admin work is as a result of employer ensuring that at the end of the day, there's accountability as there's reporting in terms of the work that we do. And as I was listening to the presentation by DSD, part of the interventions that they bring, colleagues, or try to introduce is as a result to prevent some of the challenges that they're experiencing on the ground, where the employer or the department is facing legal action across almost every year. There's legal action against employers because as social service professionals, we do not render services in terms of what we call the general accepted standard of practice in the profession. So they are trying to come up with means to cover all the angles. And in that process, there might be additional work that needs to be done. So however, our approach as council was that please consult with social service professionals to see how we can narrow make the forms concise and so forth and so forth. But their intentions is good, I must say, based on the presentation that I listened. They are good intentions there, and we encouraged our social service professionals to adhere to some of all the processes which are in line with the code of ethics, so that we ensure that we are not in trouble at the end of the day. However, consultation is important so that we find ways to minimize, to reduce admin work if that's one of the challenges that colleagues are experiencing. However, colleagues were encouraging you to say, please put it in writing to us so that we can refer the matter to the relevant professional board for intervention. The curriculum that the colleagues are exposing, or institutions of higher learning are exposing young people as far as students, social workers are concerned. The colleague says, if I were to rephrase to say, it appears to be falling below the standards in terms of what is expected of a person who should be work ready by the time they complete their qualification. Yeah. Most of the universities have been reviewing their curriculums, colleagues. So it will appear that there's still some gaps that still needs to be attended to. So that is one of the issues that we need to understand, to raise. But I want to believe, colleagues, we had the SACSSP conference recently, because this is one of the forums that we need to use to raise this particular issue. But safe to say, colleagues, any curriculum that is being provided or an institution of higher learning wants to provide or to render to our people or student social workers must be approved by the SACSSP. Recently, we had a challenge with the University of Mpumalanga. It appears they started rolling out the social work qualification without the approval of council, but they did apply, but it's just they did not fulfill all the requirements. So we've engaged them, and we had a meeting with them and requested them to follow all the requirements before they can start rolling out that particular qualification. So I'm trying to say, colleagues, we are on the ground in terms of all these issues that are affecting our professions and our professionals. However, where you become aware of a particular gap, please bring it to our attention. It talks to a particular institution of higher learning, bring it to our attention so that the professional board can engage and that particular institution of higher learning. Because what we also do, colleagues, remember through our ETD division, We also do quality assurance of all the institutions of higher learning who are providing social work qualification and other qualification within the scope of our statutory board. So it's through quality assurance and site visits that we normally conduct that we are able to pick up some of the issues. However, it might happen that some of the issues we might not pick them up. So we encourage you to bring those matters to our attention so that we can submit them to our professional boards for intervention. Thanks, Program Director.
Thank you, Mr. Sikitla, for that. Well explained all the questions and answers that we have had. And in summary, I would like to say thank you to all the registrants that partook of this invite today. We are in the process of, really focusing on building the relationship between our registrants and council. Thank you for that opportunity. Even though we've had challenges, it's the ironing processes and the teething processes that we are dealing with on this webinar, which gives us more info regarding the concerns that we have, our registrants that are experiencing. Thank you also for your time, and any other concerns that you have, please do communicate with us via email, and we will submit the presentation and the recordings to those that has requested it. And yes, to sum it up, I think this was very fruitful and the presentation was very self-explanatory. You will get copies of it, which you can always go back and review, and please feel to communicate with us at all times. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Sikitla, were you about to say something?
Not at this point, Program Director, thanks.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now we come to the end of our session, and we would like to call upon Deputy President, Mr. Murindili, to do the vote of thanks. I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen Mr. Murindili online.
Yeah, Program Director, he's trying to connect.
Okay, we'll wait.
And I can request Ms. Mbuzo also to try to see if we can assist him to log in into the session. But however, in the event he's struggling, I'll request the acting registrar, Ms. Octavia Malombo, to be on standby to do the vote of thanks. The president is trying to connect. Ms. Mbuzo is waiting for somebody to let him in. So let's try, colleagues, let's just be patient just to allow the vice president to log in.
Thank you, Mr. Sikitla. We will keep in contact with him, and then I will notify you shortly, because we are trying to communicate with him either way, to the acting registrar or the deputy president. Thank you. Thank you, registrants, for being so patient with us. It's highly appreciated. We're just waiting for the acting registrar to connect, to join us, to do the vote of things. We're unable to get in contact with the deputy president. I'm sure it must be network challenges. And as soon as we get connected, we will then communicate with you. Thank you for being patient.
Good day, SSPs, good day, practitioners, good day, registrants. Let me start by saying thank you, Program Director, for directing the Dr. Sikitla for doing the educational part. We want to believe that as the sector, we have learned from today's presentation. And we want to also believe that the sector is well informed now, as and when I heard a part where you're saying the sector should assist us in the process of us mending this relationship. We want to also believe that the sector is ready to work with us in mending the relationship between themselves and ourselves, so that we can sustain the relationship that SACSSP and its registrants endure or envisage to have for future purposes. And also thank you to the deputy who's struggling. I know that he has promised that he's going to join. Most of all, the registrants, the employers, the associations, and also trade union reps that have managed to join the session for today. Thank you all for a fruitful webinar. We want to believe that with all the knowledge and the information that have been shared to yourselves, we will be able to implement and take the sector forward in a more progressive manner. We want to thank your perseverance as well, allowing us to deal with our challenges of network and all these other challenges that we've encountered. Thank you very much. We want to believe that together we will correct and grow the sector, and also grow, not only grow, but ensure that our professional responsibilities are adhered to at all times, and also ensure that our relationship with yourself is also to the best of our ability. Thank you for being